Today I'm excited to introduce you to Betsy Hamm. Betsy Hamm is the CEO of Duck Donuts in Mechanicsburg with locations all over the world. Thank you for joining me today, Betsy.
Thank you for having me.
Your office is beautiful. It has a very coastal feel.
Yes, thank you.
So for those who don't know, can you share why there would be a coastal feel?
Sure. So the original Duck Donuts actually started in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, which of course is a beach town. And the first two locations opened in 2007 in Kitty Hawk and Duck, hence the name of Duck Donuts.
Nice, nice. And then how did you end up in Mechanicsburg for a corporate headquarters?
Yeah, so good question. So Russ DiGilio is our founder of Duck Donuts, and he's lived in Mechanicsburg for years and was actually just on vacation in the Outer Banks. He had a house there and realized that donuts were missing from the Outer Banks, and that's how it really started. It started on a whim, and it was just something fun that he was doing on the side. He had a really successful healthcare business, and the popularity of Duck Donuts just continued to grow through the years. People kept asking him to bring Duck Donuts to his town, and finally he decided that he might kick himself later if he didn't give this some bigger opportunity. So he started the corporate office and franchising here in Mechanicsburg, since this is where he lived.
That's great.
Yes.
It's great. It's kind of a funny story when you're like, wait a minute, why is Duck Donuts in Mechanicsburg?
Yes, yes. Everyone thinks we're headquartered in North Carolina, which would be awesome. Yeah. Be great to be at the beach more regularly. But yep, we're here in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
And you just recently became the CEO.
Yes.
And you shared before the interview that you were with Hershey and had a nice corporate job at Hershey.
Yes.
And you joined Duck Donuts, is it 5 years ago?
Yes,
now?
almost 5 years. Yep.
So what prompted you to leave, a nice corporate for basically a startup?
Yes. Yeah, so worked for Hershey Entertainment Resorts for about 15 years in various marketing roles, and I love my job. Of course, Hershey is an amazing brand with an amazing mission, and it was really fun to be promoting the fact of driving people to Hershey to ride roller coasters and come to Hershey Bears games and hockey games and all the fun that happens in the sweetest place on earth. So had a great job, had a great team, but was always willing to listen when other opportunities came up through the years, and would hear different things, and nothing really ever seemed very exciting or interesting to me. And then I had a friend reach out and say, hey, Duck Donuts is opening their corporate headquarters here in Mechanicsburg. They're looking for someone to come in and build a marketing team from the ground up. Are you interested in having a conversation with them? And to be honest, I didn't even know what Duck Donuts was at the time. I had not vacationed in the Outer Banks at that point, so I just wasn't familiar. So I said, sure, I'll be happy to have a conversation. So I came in and met with Russ, who was the CEO at the time, and the COO, and learned more about the brand and what they were trying to do. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is such an amazing opportunity, because here's a brand that people who know it love it and have such an affinity to it, but they just have this opportunity to get the word out really across the country. Right. So I thought, you know what, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I get to take something from the ground up and be part of building a successful team and a successful brand. So I jumped.
Yeah.
So really got to help be part of really building everything from day one, which has been very fun.
Yeah, I think that's very important, that you keep an open mind and keep opportunities.
Yes.
Evaluate opportunities that are presented and
Absolutely.
Just see, what else is out there and what else is going on. I think it helps keep us on our toes and keep us fresh with
Definitely.
what we're doing.
I mean, if somebody would have told me 7 years ago that I would be a CEO of an international donut company, I would be like, really? That doesn't sound like what I had on my plan, So
sounds like one of those Facebook quizzes, right?
Yeah. Yes, is this your future job? So yeah, definitely not, what I would have ever thought a couple years ago, for sure. But here we are, and it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And you, so you came in a marketing role.
Yes.
So how did that transition to CEO? Because that's usually not the typical path.
Right. And I feel like now I'm realizing it should be the path for many more CMOs and marketing types, for sure. But when you think about it, marketing at its core is growing a brand, right? So you're building a brand, you're creating an image, and you're trying to help it grow. So, I mean, that's the basis of a marketing job, for sure. So there really is this very natural progression of helping a business grow. And of course, now as the CEO, my job is obviously a lot of folds, really. I was going to say twofold, but it's certainly how to continue to help help the brand grow. And of course, that's different. That doesn't just mean from a marketing perspective. It's making sure we have the right team in place, making sure we have the right development and sales strategy. And in our situation, it's making sure we're giving the right support to the franchisees, because we won't be successful if our franchisees aren't successful. So making sure we have all those pieces in place to help them support their small business.
Yeah, that's great. At the beginning of the interview, I mentioned that you are international, worldwide.
Yes.
So where all do you have franchisees located outside of the U.S., and
Yes.
how many do you have in the U.S.?
So currently outside of the US, we are opened in Dubai, which is in the UAE, and we're opened in Saudi Arabia. We just opened a few weeks ago in Riyadh. We have agreements sold for Egypt, which hopefully will be opening by the end of this year in Cairo. Canada and Australia and Pakistan are also all sold countries as well. So here in the US, we have over 103 locations open, primarily on the East Coast is where we're most heavily concentrated, but we also have locations in Texas, throughout some in the Midwest, and even in California.
And how do your franchisees find you, that you're scattered so broadly?
Yes, so most of our franchisees actually come to us because they had an experience in one of our locations and fell in love with the brand, or of course fell in love with the donuts. So a lot of that started in the Outer Banks, but now we're hearing somebody comes in and they had an experience maybe in Charlotte or in Savannah, and they just find interest in the product and what we're trying to do, and come to us that way. Yeah,
that's exciting. It's definitely a unique offering.
Yes.
And the donuts are fabulous. They not only look pretty, but they taste good too.
Real, right?
Is there any advice you would give to someone else who is maybe looking at moving into a leadership role, or considering shifting their career from where they currently are, like from a marketing role into more of a leadership role, for how to make that transition?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is, and what makes anyone the most successful, is having a strong team around you. So, I certainly rely on my team to be the experts in their area. I'm very good from a general, broad standpoint, of course, but, I need someone who's an expert in operations, an expert in IT and marketing, and sales. So making sure you have the right people surrounding you is really the key to success. And, not being afraid to ask questions. I'll never pretend that I know everything about every position or every department. So I definitely ask them a lot of questions, because I want to be able to support them. I want to be able to help remove roadblocks. So having a general understanding, I think, is really important. But a lot of times I can also have that fresh perspective, because I'm not as much in the weeds, or haven't been doing that job for 10 or 15 years. So knowing enough and making sure I'm asking them the right questions, that I have a good understanding of what they're doing, so I can help support them, but knowing that they're going to be the experts in those fields.
Yeah, teamwork is something that's been a resounding theme.
Yes,
that
definitely.
We've been finding, and collaborative leaders are also something that has become a resounding theme.
Absolutely.
That for organizations to have success, it can't just be the leader's way. No way.
No.
It needs to be more collaborative. And,
absolutely.
And getting the right people in the right seats is
it's crucial.
Yeah, absolutely crucial. So is there any advice you would give your younger self? You mentioned that, 7 years ago, you never would imagine that you're here. But through your journey, career-wise, is there
so much advice I'd give my younger self? No, I think the two big things that I think of, and one we sort of touched on, is I think a lot of people go to college and they graduate and they think they have a very specific career path ahead, and I think it's really important to keep your opportunities open and have those conversations and continuously networking. I think that's how a lot of people end up in the jobs that they have, is because of their network and someone saying, hey, I know somebody who could do this job. So I think that's a really huge part of being successful that I would have told my younger self. And then the other piece, I think, is resiliency. So this hasn't been easy. There's been a lot of bumps in the road up until this point, and I've certainly have been told no. I've been told that I couldn't have a certain job or couldn't do something, and I think especially as you're young, it's very easy to be like, okay, maybe I'm not good enough. Like maybe this isn't my path, or I shouldn't be doing this. And sometimes those no's now in hindsight were a great thing, because it wasn't the right thing in the long term for me. So I think just having that resiliency, that you're going to be told no, you're going to have to work harder, you're going to do something different. It may be a different role than you thought, but just continuing to fight and to do your hardest, and you'll most likely end up where you want to be, and you might not have even known where you wanted to be to begin with. So it ties together, but I think it's just continuing to work really hard to get where you want to be.
Yeah, I think that being passionate about what you're doing and then having the perseverance to push through.
Yep.
And then having pride in what you're doing and what you're producing and what you're putting out there is so important to success.
Yep.
Personally as well as
definitely.
in
yeah,
business,
you can't be discouraged just because one person or one situation wasn't right. So
right,
you just have to
right. You just
keep
have
going.
to change it up a little bit.
Right.
Do something different. So Betsy, we talked a little bit about the timing. You've been here 5 years. Mm-hmm. And so where do you see Duck Donuts going in the next 5 years now that you're at the helm?
Yeah, so that's a fun thing to think about. And it's funny because when I started 5 years ago, we had 22 locations, we had 12 corporate employees, and just had that very small sort of mom and pop feel because we were an emerging brand just getting started. So, fast forward 5 years now, and like I mentioned, we're over 100 locations, have international locations as well. And when I think about the future, we're at this inflection point where we have a lot of great things going on for us right now. Being over 100 locations, only 16% of franchise companies actually even make it to 100 locations. So we've hit a great milestone. Our store sales are really great. Our average unit volume is really good right now. So we have a lot of positive momentum. So we're really going to accelerate growth from here on out, which is awesome. So in the next 4 years, we plan to be at 300 locations here in the U.S. at least, plus additional international. So we're just at this really fun point where we want Duck Donuts to be a household name, and we certainly are in some locations, but across the nation, we want to be known for the best donuts in the country.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes.
You've come a long way in 5 years,
yes.
So the next 5 should be a lot of fun.
Yes.
A lot of fun that way. You mentioned you wanted to be a household name.
Right.
So what sets Duck Donuts apart from the other donut shops?
So of course part of it is that we have the most amazing donuts I think that you'll ever taste, but also it's really part of that is the experience. So when you walk in, we don't have donuts sitting there in a rack for you to pick. So when you walk in and you order, you get to choose your coatings, your toppings, your drizzles, so you get the donut just the way you want it. And then you get to watch the entire experience right in front of you. So you see your donuts being dropped, you see them being topped, and then they hand you a box of warm donuts, which there's really nothing that beats the donuts. And of course, our team members are doing that with a big smile on their face. So we really strive ourselves to have amazing customer service and an exceptional product. And that's certainly what sets us apart from our competitors.
Yeah, the donuts are definitely beautiful and different. I see one here with bacon. So that's
yes, that's
different,
our top seller typically. So one of our best donuts.
Sounds like a maple bacon.
Maple bacon, absolutely.
Wow. Okay, great. Betsy, it has been so nice chatting with you today.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for inviting us into your corporate headquarters.
Absolutely, anytime.
Thank you. If you want to learn more about Duck Donuts, you can visit duckdonuts.com. To learn more about River Wealth Advisors, visit riverwealthadvisors.com. Until next time.